Joining me now in the studio is a good friend of the station and a good friend of classical music in this town, Maestro Charles Greenwell. Good afternoon. So nice to have you with us today.
Good afternoon to you, Chris. It's a delight to be here as always.
Well, you wear so many hats, and I want to tell people which hat you're wearing today. It's the one as music director and conductor of the Southern Great Lakes Symphony Orchestra.
That is what I'm here to talk about. Yes, talk a little bit about our coming season and anything you would like to know about the orchestra and whatever.
Well, just before we get to that, if I may,
yes.
I have just a couple little questions.
Okay.
Because you have something in common with Leonard Bernstein, other than the fact that you both conduct orchestras and have an interest in music. You are the person on the hot seat if somebody can't make it with the DSO.
Yes.
And that has actually happened, hasn't it?
It has actually happened to me 3 times since I've held the position of conducting assistant of the Detroit Symphony, and that is already unusual, because I've only had the post formally now for something like 7 or 8 years. I mean, many conductors go for a whole lifetime as assistant or resident or associate conductors and never get a chance to fill in. The fact that I've done it 3 times is quite something.
So what happens when you get the call? Were you, I don't know, having a nice little mint julep out on the porch and the phone rings and it says, Charles, get down here?
Well, there were 3 different situations. The first one happened with Neme Järvi, and I had a bit of advance notice for that. The second one happened out at Meadowbrook with a Swiss conductor named Thierry Fischer, who, poor lad, woke up on the Saturday of the final rehearsal and concert and literally could not move because of back problems.
Oh my.
And then the third time, which took place, I think, 2 seasons ago, of all people, I had to fill in for Peter Nero. As a conductor, mind you, not as a pianist.
I was gonna say,
I'm not in that class at the keyboard.
But
no.
You do play piano.
I do play piano, but not like that.
Okay, yeah.
So that's how that's happened.
And I trust that the results were successful?
They certainly were. And to just answer your question, ultimately, the Peter Nero concert, I got the call about that the night before the first concert was supposed to take place. The lady who was then director of Pops and Special Programming, in effect, called up and said, Charles, can you do this concert for us? And happily, it was all music that I knew and loved and had done before, so it was fine.
And it's a good orchestra, too. So
not a bad group.
Yeah, that kind of helps.
You bet.
Well, you have another fine orchestra that you work with, the Southern Great Lakes Symphony, among others. You know, we've had spots on the air for some of the other concerts of this group, but in case somebody isn't aware of the Southern Great Lakes Symphony, where do you play normally, and who's in the orchestra?
We play virtually all of our concerts in the auditorium of Flat Rock High School downriver, which is a magnificent building. It's a beautiful auditorium visually and acoustically, very warm, rich acoustics. Most of the players in the orchestra are freelance musicians who come from here. Some of them come from Lansing, some of them come from Bowling Green. Some are school teachers or have other professions during the day and play at night, but the majority of them earn their living playing in all kinds of community orchestras around this area.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow, that's I'm surprised and pleased to hear that. It's encouraging to me that it's actually possible to make a living playing in community orchestras. I mean, that's a good sign, I think.
Yes, it is. You'd have to talk to the individual players to find out just how much of a living
right.
they make and what they have to supplement it
Yeah.
with. But indeed, there are many who do practically nothing but that.
Oh, good for them.
And teach, of course.
Yes, of course. Well, you know, most musicians teach.
Yeah,
don't they?
indeed.
I'm looking at the list of your program here, and as I said earlier on this program, the Beethoven 8th is part of your first program on October 5th. But you also other highlights here that we'd like to go over. I see Pirates, Karen Newman.
Yes, all kinds of exciting things.
Pick one here and tell us about her.
Well, let's see. The Karen Newman concert is quite special. This is something that we have not done before, someone but that kind of a name for a Pops concert and a Christmas concert. I'm sure it'll be wonderful working with the lady, and we're hoping that she'll bring in all kinds of people to the symphony who have never been there before. But on the classical side of the venture, there's the Pirates, the American Genius, but the last concert of the season, I think, is going to be lots of fun. We're calling it Rule Britannia. It is going to be an attempt to recreate, in as much as we can, in a formal auditorium, that amazing event that happens in London every fall called the Last Night of the Proms.
Oh, yeah.
And I was there once when I was living in London 40 years ago. I went to a Last Night at the Proms, and it's an experience I have never forgotten. As you know, they take out all of the seats in the main area of the Royal Albert Hall, and people stand and promenade and have fun. And of course, on that last concert, anything goes. The people just get crazy, and they scream, and they wave Union Jacks. It was fun and hysterical enough in my day. I understand nowadays they just go completely insane.
Well, I've heard some of the recordings, of course, which is my only direct experience with it, and they bring noisemakers and horns and stadium horns,
oh, yes,
firecrackers,
and they dress up crazy.
And are we encouraging that for the Southern Great Lakes Symphony Orchestra?
I'm not sure about that yet. We still have time because that concert is in April. Maybe we'll do a little of it, maybe not.
I say go crazy.
Yeah, maybe Union Jacks and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it's safe, of course. But
yes.
We don't want anyone to get harmed. Well, which sort of leads me to another question, kind of related to this, is you worked with Sir Adrian Boult.
I certainly did. When I studied at the Royal College of Music over there, that was one of the great experiences of my life, working with that extraordinary gentleman and getting some insights into the great British music that he knew uniquely well. Yeah.
So what was he like? I mean, to me, he's like so many of those marble busts, you know, with a nice mustache. But here's someone who actually knew the man. Tell us a little bit about him.
He was very laid back, very down to earth. He had a temper, but you only saw it once in a blue moon. But when it erupted, it was like Mount Etna going off. But nevertheless, he had this philosophy about being true to the score, a philosophy about not being crazy and overly demonstrative on the podium. His main focus was using the baton, or stick as they call it over there, very precisely with very small, very clear motions. And of course he knew Vaughan Williams, he knew Elgar, he knew Holst, he knew Bax. I mean, all of these people, he knew Walton, all of the people from the first half of the 20th century that contributed so much to English music, and just talking with him about the music and the people and the personalities, it was a unique, once-in-a-lifetime experience for me.
How much Boult is there in Charles Greenwell?
I would say a good deal. You might have to look hard for it, but I mean, the things that he tried to instill in me took a long time to really sink in, but now trying to be as clear and precise as possible when I'm on the podium, trying to discover as much as you can what the composer's intentions were, those are all things I work very much from nowadays.
Well, Charles Greenwell, you're a big asset to this community and to a lot of the orchestras, especially the Southern Great Lakes Symphony. We look forward to your season, and I'll mention that the website you can get more information at is sgls.org, as in Southern Great Lakes Symphony, sgls.org. There's a phone number also that you can call, 734-246-2890. That's 734-246-2890. Charles Greenwell is the conductor and music director of the Southern Great Lakes Symphony Orchestra. And I guess one last question here.
Yes,
for
sir.
the Karen Newman Christmas concert,
yes,
are you at all concerned about people bringing in octopi?
If they do, they're going to have to leave them at the door.
Check your octopi at the door. There you
For
are.
sure.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Charles, for spending time with us.
Thank you, Chris, for having me. Pleasure as always.
It's a great organization, part of the WRCJ Fall Showcase. Southern Great Lakes Symphony Orchestra. Find out more about them and go to the concert. The best way to hear music is live. Next best thing is what we're about to do now. Here on the